Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Professor Heather Austin. Today, we are going to cover the 5-step system to build a resume that lands you a life-changing job offer. I love to see all of you guys in the live chat here. Make sure, if you haven't said hello already, that you say hello and let us know where you're joining us from today. I have such amazing content prepared for you. And by the way, I ask you guys a lot of questions, so make sure you're listening and tuning in and taking notes, more importantly. So let me say hello to a couple of you in the chat because I know that some of you jumped in super early. Frank is here. Hello. It says, my very first masterclass ever. Frank, you're going to love it. Make sure you have a notepad and a pen and all that good stuff ready. Larry is here. Ken, hello. So happy that you could make it today. Helen is here. The traveling cameraman. I love that screen name. Virginia is here. Sister Williams is here. MZA is here. Hello, everyone in the chat. I know that there's lots more of you guys. I'm so happy that you're here and that you could join us here today for today's live stream. I will tell you that I have my team members here. Catherine is in the chat. She will be answering questions. So if you have questions during today's live event, make sure you get those in. She'll be answering them while I'm presenting because we get a lot of questions during this event. And then, of course, I'll spend a couple minutes at the end answering even some more questions that she feels like I need to answer live on the show today. So just keep in mind, you guys, this is the World Wide Web. We may have technical problems. We may not have technical problems. The internet's been a little bit slow today. If for some reason I get booted off, just know I'll come right back on to finish up today's live masterclass. So I have lots of slides to share with you guys. We're going to jump right into it. Again, get questions in as we're going throughout today's content because we have a lot to share with you today. So let me go ahead and pop open my slides. And again, keep saying hello in the chat while you're getting here. Let us know where you're joining us from. Get your greatest, biggest questions in. So today we are going to cover the 5-step system to create a winning resume that lands you a life-changing job offer. Now, again, most of you have already told us where you're joining us from today, but if you haven't, type that in. And what I would love to know is, what do you hope to get out of today's training? So of course, this is a resume writing masterclass. We know that your resume is just the first piece to the puzzle in landing that life-changing job offer. But what do you hope to get out of today's training? Type that into the chat. While you guys are typing that in, I'm going to share a story with you that I've never shared before publicly on my YouTube channel. So normally I tell you guys about my family and how I got started and yada, 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 but I'm going to take it even one step further so that you guys can understand that I understand where you are in terms of the real challenges that come with finding and landing a dream job. So when I was 21, I had this dream of going to graduate school. Now, I wanted to be recognized as an industry leader. I wanted to learn everything I could about my industry. Well, at the time, I didn't realize how hard it would be to get accepted to graduate school. In fact, I ended up taking the admissions test 3 times and I failed all 3 times. Now, keep in mind, this wasn't just me studying for a couple weeks and then taking a test and then studying again and taking a test. I studied for an entire year. I even signed up for a test prep course and I still failed the course. Now, I thought, okay, I'm not going to let this stop me. I still have a dream of going to graduate school. So I walked into the program director's office and I said, hey, look, I know I suck at test taking, but I'm not going to let this get in my way. So after a long conversation about provisional admittance, he talked about my goals and my intentions. He ended up accepting me to the program. Now, I share this story with you because I want to prove that anything's possible when it comes to your dream career. Rejections, failed interviews, ghostings, all that crummy stuff that comes with landing and searching for a job. Now, I want you to imagine for a second what is possible if you keep persisting, okay? If you keep going in this journey. Now, if I would have given up on my goal of going to graduate school, first of all, I would have never started a YouTube channel called Professor Heather Austin. I wouldn't be sitting in front of you today sharing the knowledge that I have of the career space and helping you find work you love. I wouldn't have reached over 15 million views on my channel. I wouldn't have been invited to speak across the country at leadership events. I wouldn't be on podcasts, global podcasts speaking about career content. And most recently, I wouldn't have been accepted or invited to New York City this past weekend to a YouTube conference to learn how to be a better creator so I can be a better teacher for you. I would never have seen Neil deGrasse Tyson in person and being able to see him and all of his awesomeness. And I would have never met Mark Rober. If you guys know who he is, he's my kid's favorite YouTuber on planet Earth. So at the end of the day, I want you to remember this before we jump into the content. You deserve to be in a position where you're thriving, doing work you love, and making a difference in the world, okay? Now, I want to give a couple shout outs to some people who write into the channel. We get these responses every single day. So Letitia wrote in and said, I got the job offer in 24 hours and still getting job offers. Here's what Tim said. He says, I used all of your advice in this video and not only landed a job interview after sending in my resume and cover letter, I got the job. He says, after watching the video, I could see how your format was a lot more direct and to the point, short and sweet. Lydia wrote in and said, on every job I applied, I got an interview. She said, finally, on the third interview, I got the job offer with an increase. And Ashley says, I just wanted to leave you a review. So she came back to tell me this. She says, I discovered your channel during senior year of college. She's about to get into her career. She says, all the different resumes I had were getting me nowhere until I tried your template and your format. Ever since then, I got my first job. She says 2 years later, I'm going on to land even a better position. So you guys, we help senior level professionals. We help recent graduates. If you are here to land a dream job, we are here for you. So with that being said, make sure you turn everything off, all your distractions, all your unnecessary tabs that you might have open. And by the way, I'm an extreme multitasker. So I like to listen to music, listen to podcasts and all that stuff while I work, but I want you guys to be super tuned in here. So let me see where you guys are in terms of what you hope to get out of today's training. Matt says, where am I getting it wrong? I have been interviewing and reviewing resumes throughout my whole career. Matt, we're going to tackle that in just a second. Lee says, using the resume to focus on a second career. Okay, so maybe career changers. We get that question a lot. Royal Destiny. So that was a tongue twister for me for a second. Says how to explain employment gaps on a resume, like travel sabbaticals. John says guidelines for effective executive summary and proper words to use for effective meaning when translating job details into words. Okay, these are amazing. I would love to tackle all of these. In fact, we probably are going to tackle most everything that you guys have mentioned here today. So everything's on Do Not Disturb, right? All your phone's on silence because we are going to jump into some massive content today. Now, if you stick around until the end, I'm going to share with you where you can get a free career strategy consultation with me and my team. So Catherine is one of my amazing team members. She's a recruiter, career coach, certified resume writer. She helps me run this boat that we have moving forward right now. So she's here answering questions. How would you like a free strategy with us where you can ask us questions about what's going on and we can help you solve some of your biggest problems? So stick around to learn where you can grab that. Now, I want to know in the chat, what is your dream job position or title? Type into the chat what your dream job position or title is. And while you're typing that in, I want you to tell me if this sounds like you, okay? Tell me if some of this sounds like you. In terms of your resume, you're not sure how to update your resume to fit the jobs you're applying for. Maybe the constant editing is so time consuming that you're like, shouldn't this have been easier by now, right? Or maybe you're just not sure what to include or what to leave out of your resume. Maybe you have years of experience, but you're just not sure how to narrow it all down. Or maybe you're uncertain about the wording of your resume. You want your resume to sound interesting and engaging, but you don't want to stuff it with all these buzzwords or fluffy content, right? And you definitely don't want it to sound confusing. So with that being said, my next question, if you haven't typed in your job title, get that in there, is I'm going to ask you to give me either a 1, 2, or a 3 in the chat for why you are here today, okay? Are you looking for a promotion? So maybe you're currently working and now you just want to move on and advance in your career, maybe with the same company or a different company. Are you switching careers? So type a 2 if you're switching careers, and type a 3 if you're on the hunt for a new job, okay? So a 1, 2, or 3. And let me kind of see where you guys are in terms of job titles. I know I saw some amazing ones come through. Royal Destiny again says product owner. I love that. Carrie Ann, hello, says operations director. So good. Young Kung Lee says data scientist or marketing analyst. That's awesome. The traveling cameraman, customer success manager. I'm seeing data analyst. Let's see, virtual assistant. I love that. Project manager, finance manager, IT project manager. Oh, there's so many. The chat's moving so fast. It just popped me through all your amazing job titles. And then in terms of 1, 2s, or 3s, I'm seeing tons of 3s. I'm seeing a lot of 2s. So a lot of 2s and 3s. I do see a few 1s kind of scattered in here. So we're gonna touch on most of this stuff, you guys. So again, make sure you have your favorite pencil and pen and paper and all that good stuff out. So what are we gonna cover today? So I'm gonna just take you through really quickly the 5 things that you are going to learn about. We're gonna talk about how to build a clean, concise resume that is applicant tracking system compliant. We're gonna talk about how to write attention-grabbing resume summary that hits employer-specific pain points. We'll talk about how to quickly customize your resume. Okay, I know this is a big one because a lot of you wrote in about that. We're going to talk about how to update your resume if you've been laid off, furloughed, or even terminated. And then finally, which is one of my favorite parts, and I think one of the most important steps to this whole process, is how to write achievement statements that showcase your skills and expertise. So we're going to cover all of these things today, believe it or not. So where do we start? Let's go ahead and start with our step number 1, and that is how to build a clean, concise resume that is applicant tracking system compliant. So there's a couple things that I want you guys to keep in mind when it comes to what we would call an ATS, okay? Some people call there's so many broad spectrum names for this program. I call it a program because I even look sometimes at LinkedIn as an applicant tracking system, meaning if I'm a recruiter and I'm a hiring manager, I'm going to go search for you, and LinkedIn is going to spit out the people that I'm most interested in that have the skills or the expertise that I like or that I need, right? So think of an ATS as this. It's a software application that streamlines the hiring process to evaluate your level of candidacy. Okay, so it's really a system that companies, hiring managers, recruiters use, and whatever system we call it or they call it, it's a system that we use to determine if you are going to be a fit or not. Okay, so let's talk really quickly about how we get past the applicant tracking system. Now, keep in mind what I'm sharing with you today does not just go toward the applicant tracking system. Okay, this also goes to a human reader. So if I'm a recruiter and I have 100 resumes and I'm going to pick out the top 10, these are the things I'm looking for, okay? So I want you to look at your resume as a 4-part framework, okay? You're going to break it down into the top half. You're going to break it down into your work experience. You're going to then have education and training, and this can be certifications and that sort of stuff. And then you're going to have skills and other sections. These are the 4 things that every resume must have. Now, how you decide to display them, what you put in those areas, that's up to you, and it's up to your experience and your expertise, okay? So I'm going to break down each section really quickly so that you can kind of see what it looks like. Now, I'm going to switch to this screen. I'm going to turn my camera off for just a second so that you guys can actually see what this looks like. Okay. So this is the top half of your resume. So you'll notice that all you have here is your contact information. You have a headline, which we'll jump into in just a second. You have 3 key skills, and then you have a professional summary section, okay? So this is pretty basic. Most everyone's gonna have this on their resume. So keep that in mind. Now, as I'm kind of explaining this a little bit more, I wanted to address the resume that I have on the screen here. This is a 2-page resume that I'm going to be showing you. This is just the first page. If you have less than 5 years of work experience, you're only going to have a 1-page resume. Now, your work experience section might not be that long. Maybe you'll have an education section. Maybe you'll even have a volunteer experience section. It just depends on you and what you're presenting, okay? Now, let's jump into the second part. And by the way, I'm going to dive into the top half in more detail in just a second because I 100% believe it's the most important part of your resume. So the experience section, this is where we want it to be accomplishment oriented. We want it to be results driven, keyword heavy, and quantifiable, okay? So remember these 4 things. And by the way, we're going to touch on each 4 of these things in just a second. But this is just kind of a general overview of the structure of your resume. Now, the third piece to this framework is your education and your training. So your education and your training can also be certifications. Notice here on the screen, it has academic honors, relevant coursework. So let's say you haven't completed your schoolwork yet, or let's say you completed college for a certain amount of time. But you didn't actually get a degree. You can say relevant coursework, okay? You can talk about clubs or societies that you've participated in. The key here is to be accurate and honest about anything you list here, okay? Well, anywhere on your resume. Okay, the fourth part to our framework, and this is actually one of my favorite parts because I feel like you can really add some sugar to the top of this, right? Where you can start adding other sections. I get a lot of people that are like, I have no work experience. I'm switching careers. I'm not sure what to do with the rest of my resume. There's a lot of things you can add in here. Now, keep in mind, I don't want you to add sections just to add them. They are there for you to pick and choose and decide, will this present me in the best possible light? So some of these sections would be a technical skills section, which I really love, professional skills, volunteer experience, professional memberships. Maybe you speak multiple languages. Maybe you've received certain awards or honors at some point in your career. So again, use these sections as you see fit on your resume. Now tell me in the chat really quickly, what part of your resume in that 4-part framework do you think needs the most work? So would you say it was the top half? Would you say it's your work experience section? Maybe it's your education, or maybe it's like a special skills section. So type that into the chat. And while you guys are typing that in, let me just finish up kind of the formatting of your resume here. So again, I'm showing you guys a 2-page resume, right? When it comes to your formatting, I don't have a separate slide for this, so you are going to have to write this down or take notes on this part. When it comes to your formatting, there's a couple things I want you to keep in mind. Headlines are a fantastic way to, again, tell the ATS that this is an important section, or to tell the human reader this is an important section, right? You can capitalize, you can bold. Notice in this example, I've even added like a light or a dark blue color, okay? That's pretty much the only color I'm using here on this resume. So keep that in mind. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is use white space and margins wisely, okay? I get resumes sometimes that they are like, there's no margin. There might be like a 0.25 margin and the content is just crammed on there. And to me, if I'm the recruiter or the hiring manager, it's too much information to read. I just want to see it quick and fast, and I don't want to be overwhelmed with content, okay? So again, keep in mind your margins. I like to go with a 0.5 or a 0.75 margin, never larger than a 1-inch margin, okay? Now let me see where you guys are in terms of what part of your resume needs the most work. I'm seeing a lot of top halves. Tyson said special skills. Desiree says top half. Anne-Marie says work experience. I'm seeing some work experience, yes, and top half. We're gonna actually cover each of those sections here in just a second, so tune in for that. Now, final reminder before I move on to step number 2, okay? No columns or tables on your resume. No images, charts, or graphs. Use clear hierarchy, use keywords, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, okay? And then use easy to read fonts. So take a screenshot of this if you need to. These are just the last minute ideas. Okay, now when it comes to a font, I know probably some of you are going to say, well, what should I use? I've been using Cambria in all of my templates these days, so that's one that I like to use. You could even use Times New Roman's sort of basic, but you could use that. You could even use like Calibri. I wouldn't go any smaller than a 10-point font, and I wouldn't go any larger than a 12-point, okay? Okay, next question for you guys. Is your resume ATS compliant? So type a yes or a no into the chat now that you know how to write an ATS compliant resume. Is your current resume ATS compliant? Now, I'm going to share a few success stories with you guys as we're going throughout today's presentation. So here's Troy, if you guys have not met Troy before. So he wrote in and says, I just wanted to thank you for the resources and encouragement your videos and lessons have given me. He said, I revised my resume and updated my LinkedIn profile. He applied to 3 positions, received an interview and an offer from his favorite potential employer in just 1 week. He goes on to say that after he accepted the offer, he heard back from the other 2 companies as well. He goes on to say even more that your resume hits every need we have. That's what the company told him. He found out from his coworker that the company he applied to received among 50 to 60 other resumes, and his stood out. So again, you guys, this is what's possible when you follow these tactics. Okay, let me see where we at with yes or no's. I'm kind of seeing like an even mix of yeses and no's. Andrea says yes. Wanda says work experience. Heather says yes. Let's see. I'm seeing some yeses, no's. That's okay. We are going to, Deanna says not quite. We're going to be covering some more things that will make your stuff even better. So, okay, let's jump into step number 2, how to write an attention-grabbing resume summary that hits employer-specific pain points. So here's the thing that I want you to think about when it comes to your summary. So this is, again, part of the top half of your resume. It is probably one of the most important pieces. I have had I've had job seekers, my clients and my academy members and Toolkit users who they will just change like the top part of their resume and they don't even have time to like fix the rest, and they will apply for a job and they'll actually end up getting an interview and receive the job offer, even though they haven't even presented themselves fully on their resume just yet. But by changing the top half, the recruiter sees it, or hiring manager, they bring them in and they're like convinced right at that moment. So keep in mind, this is one of the very most important sections of your resume. Now, do you guys remember the Jerry Maguire movie? And she says, "You had me at hello." This is what I want you to think about with your resume summary, okay? You need to catch them at the very beginning and hook them right then, or else you're done. They're not going to consider you any further. So let me show you exactly how to do that. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start with some sort of title, okay? This is the title of the job you're applying for or some similar title, okay? And by the way, don't be afraid to put the job title in that you're applying for if that's not your current job title. That's okay. This resume is for that company and for that position, and you're telling them, hey, this is a resume for this position, okay? After that, you're going to add 3 key skills just right under that title. Now, keep in mind, these 3 key skills have to be directly related to the position, okay? By the way, you guys, we are doing resume reviews after this, and I do have a resume that I'm going to point out some of the things that they could do better with their key skills. So tune into that. So you're tailoring your resume to the position you're applying for, right? That comes with the 3 key skills. Make sure you know those 3 key skills. Now, I'm not saying you need to be an expert or a mastery of all these skills that you're adding here, but I am saying you need to have some general knowledge, and they do need to be skills that are found in the job posting, okay? Now, the next thing after that, you're going to include some sort of action words that you pull from the job description. Now, in this example, it says reliable, energetic, and resourceful. Here's the thing. If that job description does not mention these 3 words, I am not going to put those 3 words in my summary. I need to put only action verbs or action words that they have in the job posting. Keep in mind, you guys, not only am I telling you how to do your summary here, this is how you tailor your resume. I got a lot of emails this last week that said that I'm tailoring my resume, it's not working, it's taking so much time, yada, yada, yada. All you need to do is change these 3 things, your headline, your 3 key skills, and these action words, if at the bare minimum. Just change that. Keep everything else the same, and then submit your resume for the new position, okay? It's going to save you so much time. Now, going deeper into this summary, and again, then you can tailor whatever else you want from there, but at the bare minimum, do those 3 things. After that, we're going to then talk a little bit more about the number of years you've worked in the field, some of your greatest accomplishments, that kind of thing, okay? So you're just going into a little bit more detail. Then, and by the way, I'm only breaking this in, this is a 2-sentence summary that lands thousands of people's jobs every single year because we get these comments. So if at the bare minimum you follow these principles, I promise it will make such a difference. So this last sentence here, you're going to discuss your specialty, okay? So the first sentence, you're discussing your biggest accomplishment. Then you're going to talk about your specialty and your expertise and what makes you an expert in your field. Okay. 2 to 3 sentences. That's all you need. You're demonstrating how your professional background and experience will help the company solve a particular problem. Okay. Okay. Next question for you guys. I told you I ask a lot of questions. What key skill can you add to your resume? Okay, so if we go back to our example here, key skills here are client services, customer relationship management, and account management. What key skill can you add to your resume? So type that into the chat. Let me introduce you guys to someone else as well while you're typing that in. I want you to meet Pam. So Pam wrote in and said, Heather's resources were by far the best. She says, I prepped some more. I kept a chart of the positions that I applied for. She ended up applying for 11. She heard back from 8 and she was offered 3. Now, here's the thing. Pam didn't know the age discrimination was real until she started applying for jobs. And I remember her writing in and saying, Heather, like, this is a real thing. Like, I didn't even know that based on my age, I would be discriminated against, right? So she took the principles that we teach and she put them into practice, ended up with 3 job offers. She says, thank you for giving me the confidence to pursue a different job opportunity. You will never know how much it means. But I do know, Pam, because you're amazing. So let me kind of see where you guys are in terms of key skills. Ooh, Tyson, I love visual storyteller. That's awesome. I think it's Tala says problem solving. I see communication, patient-client interaction, program success, cross-functional team leader, Python SQL. Remember, you guys, whatever you're entering here, these are things directly found in the job that you're applying for or the industry or the field that you're in, okay? Directly related to that. Awesome responses. Okay, let's move into step number 3. And this is how to quickly customize your resume to fit almost any job even if you're making a career switch. Okay, so let's jump into a quick formula that I have for you guys, okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about how you're presenting your resume, okay? So we talked a little bit about the top half, but when it comes to actually customizing and maybe changing a few words here and there, and maybe changing a few sentences, there's a 3-part formula. So take a screenshot of this or write this down if you need to. You're going to do research, you're going to add keywords into that, and then you're going to make a direct correlation between your work experience and the position, okay? So let me break that down a little bit. So when it comes to research, this is where we're taking a look at the company's LinkedIn page. We're looking at their Twitter account. We're really evaluating how are they presenting themselves online? What does their company website say about their mission, their culture, their vision, all that good stuff, okay? Maybe we have a friend or we know someone that works inside the company. We're asking them. Maybe we don't know anyone yet and we reach out on LinkedIn, which, by the way, we teach you guys how to do inside of the Career Advancement Toolkit, which I'm going to share more about that in a second. But maybe we reach out on LinkedIn to someone that we don't know, that doesn't know us, and we start networking with them, and then we ask them. Okay, so this is your research part. And by the way, when it says research, and take it from me who failed the GMAT 3 times, the graduate admissions test, I don't like research. I don't want to go digging and in fact, I actually listen to podcasts over reading. Like, I just want information easy, right? So I don't want you to go spend hours and hours. I'm talking like 2 minutes here and there, and that's it for each position, okay? Once we get our research in, we're going to now look at keywords and keyword phrases that are popping up in the job posting, okay? So in this example, I've highlighted a couple. I can tell that there are some common themes here. I see that they've mentioned they want someone that's a good storyteller. They want someone that has analytical skills. They want someone that's innovative. They want someone that has presentation skills. I'm taking all those exact words and I'm now saying, okay, where can I pop these into my resume so that they're the exact terminology that the company is using? Okay, does this make sense, you guys? If this is making sense, type yes into the chat. Now, once we get the keywords and keyword phrases, we've got our research, now we need to make a direct correlation. So let me show you just a quick statement that I threw together just based on this description. Okay, so I have some keywords that they've popped through in the job description, and now I'm putting it into a sentence. So I'm going to say creative storyteller with the ability to pull in my data into a thoughtful presentation that actively engages an audience. Okay, so that's all I'm doing. I just took 3 keywords from the job posting and I made up a sentence. And guess what? Most of us could probably do this sentence, just so you know. Most of us could be creative storytellers. Most of us could pull in my data. Don't get overwhelmed by that. That's basically just research, okay? And most of us could present something. We could all take this sentence and put it on our resume if this was the position we were applying for. Okay, so all you're doing is you're just taking what you're finding through research, through your own experience, and through the job description, and you're changing things up here and there, okay, if you need to. Now, let me ask you guys another question in the chat. On a scale of 1 to 10, how often do you tailor your resume? So is it 1, never? You never tailor your resume for the position? Is it a 10 where every time you tailor your resume? Awesome. I'm seeing some really good yeses. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you, Laura. Lonnie NYC. Yay. Good. Okay. So glad this is making sense to you guys. So type into the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, how often do you tailor your resume? Now, let me jump into step number 4 really quick while you guys are typing that in, because I really want to address, we saw some resumes come through this week because we had hundreds of resumes submitted for our resume review show. And we saw some resumes come through where there were some things that we wanted to have them fix, right? So there were a lot of people that had been laid off, furloughed, or terminated. So we thought, you know what, we got to talk about this during the masterclass because this is something that we are seeing from a lot of people. So what I want to preface this with, and what I'm sharing with you, I don't have slides on everything, so take really good notes. The thing that you want to remember when it comes to if you're in any of these situations, you need to be open and honest about the layoff, okay? We're not going to hide it, okay? You don't want it to appear like you were laid off because of your performance, right? We're going to try and turn the tides and address it as if we were laid off because of a downsizing or something to that effect, okay? Now we're being open and honest, okay? Remember that. The thing that you have to remember here is you do not need to come forthright out with this information and share it to the world, okay? This is normally something you're not going to even talk about until your interview. And it is something that you could address in your cover letter, but a lot of times you're going to get into the details of it when it comes to your interview, and you need to have a really good story around that, okay? So let me kind of quickly just go through what a work experience section would look like if I had been laid off, furloughed, or let go. So we're going to start by changing the dates, okay? And we're going to, if you have like through present or whatever it might be, you're going to change the date to the date that either you stopped receiving a severance package of some sort or the date that you were let go, okay? From there, you're going to change all of your statements, or you're going to add a statement that talks about downsizing, that talks about unforeseen economic conditions, that talks about department cuts as a result of a pandemic or something to that effect. You can say that in that very first sentence. What I want you to notice here, though, is notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. I have a small, short sentence about this thing, okay? That's all you need to do. Don't go into detail. Don't give them the kitchen sink. You're just basically going to tell them at a bare minimum just the facts, and that's it, okay? If you even want to address it here. Now, if you don't, you could address it in the cover letter, and then you could also address it in the interview, okay? Now, the other thing I want you to keep in mind, I know I mentioned this, but we are also mentioning it as if it's the downsizing or economic conditions or something to that effect, okay? Now, from here, we're going to make sure that we put all of our accomplishments or all of our statements in past tense. So this is one mistake we saw from a lot of people this week, is that they may not have been there and they're saying that they're still there by the terms that they're using. So for example, maintained financial accounts by processing blah, blah, blah. Instead of that, a lot of people would say maintain. So you need to put it in past tense as if it happened back a while ago, right? Not a while ago, but it's not happening right now. Now, the other thing I want you to keep in mind here is focus on your most recent accomplishments and the projects you've completed, okay? Or the accomplishments or projects that relate directly to the position you're applying for. You might need to organize these bullet points so that you have those at the front, okay, or at the top, because chances are the hiring manager or recruiter, they're gonna look at where you worked, what your job title was, and then they might read like the top 2 lines and then they'll move on to the next thing. They might not even get to that bottom line. So make sure you organize that accordingly, okay? Now, quick question for you guys. What is your biggest takeaway so far? So I still have step number 5, which is my favorite that I'm going to jump into. We also have Catherine in the chat answering your guys' biggest questions. So make sure you get that in. If you have questions, she'll try and get to as many as she can. And then we have resume reviews. And then I have a special offer for you guys for the Career Advancement Toolkit. So before we get into all that, what is your biggest takeaway so far? So type that in. Yes. Oh my gosh, so many good questions. Thanks, Catherine, for jumping in and answering all the amazing questions that we have. Okay, while you guys are typing in your biggest takeaway, let's jump into step number 5. So this is probably, in addition to the top half of your resume, I'm going to say this is probably the second most important thing on your resume. It's one of my most favorite things to talk about. It is one of the more challenging ones because when we talk about achievement statements, we now have to focus on what results did you achieve? Okay. What are you doing better than other people? How are you solving problems that impact a department or that impact someone in some way? And it's kind of hard to do that if you're not if your brain's not tuned into that. Okay. But I'm going to give you guys some really easy steps to take to help you do this. Okay. So the very first formula for this, or the formula for this that I want you to remember is, when you're talking about any sort of achievement statement on your resume, okay, so this could be in your summary, this could be in a career highlights section that you have, this could be in your work experience, this could be volunteer, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're going to break it down into 3 parts. You always want to have some sort of action verb, you always want to have some sort of task, and you always want to have some sort of result. Now, the big mistake that we see, because by the way, I get hundreds of resumes every single week, and especially when we do these review shows, we have so many resumes. And one of the biggest mistakes that we see is that people will include their action verb and their task. They'll tell us, this is the task that I completed at this job. But the thing that they leave out is the result. Okay, what was the result of the task that you completed? Okay, now let me give you an example of like an action verb. Organized, increased, operated, implemented, advised, that kind of thing, right? Then from there, we're telling them how we did it and what the result was. Now keep in mind, you can swap these two. You could give the result, which I actually like to see the result first sometimes, and then you can give the task, okay? Now before I show you guys a couple of examples, there's 2 ways that you can bring in measurement, okay? Because that's the other question that we get a lot is, Heather, how do I measure, what do you mean? How do I measure all this stuff that I've done, okay? And we get a lot of questions about, well, I'm in a position or I've accomplished tasks that it's really not measurable per se. So I want you to either take a screenshot of this or write this down. 2 ways that you can measure, and they're the most effective ways, is you have your quantitative and you have your qualitative, okay? So quantitative is going to be numbers, dollars, percentages, time, frequency, okay? And by the way, I'm going to give you guys an example in just a second. Qualitative would be things like promotions, honors, awards. Maybe you received some sort of recognition. Maybe you received some sort of acknowledgement, okay? So these are the 2 ways that I want you to remember that you can measure your statements, okay? Now let me give you some examples. So here's a poor example. That's why I have a red X next to it. So it says, hired and managed a team to successfully implement a new database solution. Well, we have the action verbs and we have the task, right? But we are missing the result. So, well, okay, sorry. Let me take that back. Let me back that up. We do have the result, but we are missing our quantitative measurement, okay? So all we need to do here is we need to say, hire and manage a team of 8 product developers, and maybe it's a team of 3 or 5, it doesn't matter, to successfully implement a new database solution and ahead of schedule. That's some sort of measurement. Even though I'm not saying, I could have said 3 months ahead of schedule, 5 months, 4 months, 3 weeks, it doesn't matter, but I'm putting in ahead of schedule, okay? So there's terms that you can use like ahead of schedule that are also a form of measurement. Now, let me share with you guys another example here. Used social media to help promote company's website, okay? So I do have an action verb, I do have a task, and I do have the result, but I see no quantities in here, okay? And by the way, hiring managers and recruiters love anytime they can they can measure your success, okay? So here's one way that I can make this better. Increased website traffic by 20% over a 3-month period. So notice I have 2 metrics in here. Through the development of an intensive social media marketing campaign. Now, I could go into even more detail on this, and the goal would be that you take this statement here and you now go into the interview and they talk to you about, well, how did you do this? How did you increase the website traffic by 20%? And when you talk about intensive social media marketing campaigns, what do you mean by that? Like, what does that look like? So again, you're going to have that statement, and then you're going to have a really amazing career story to tell them in the interview, okay? So keep that in mind as you guys formulate your statements. Now, here's another, you can take a screenshot of this as well. Here's another thing that will help you kind of pull things together. Anytime you can say, I did this and the outcome was whatever, okay? Or I did this, whatever this is, and it resulted in whatever, okay? So think in terms of what are the tasks that you're doing and what are the results, or what is the outcome. So two keywords that I want you to remember here: result and outcome. Result and outcome, okay? Just keep that playing throughout your mind. Result and outcome as you're going and proofing your resume and making it even better. Okay, really quickly, what one thing, so this is where I want you guys to think a little bit deeper, what one thing sets you apart from others in your industry? Okay, it could be a skill, it could be a talent, it could be that you have some sort of certification or education, or that you've accomplished something major. What one thing sets you apart from others in your field? So type that into the chat. While you guys are typing that in, you're probably at this training today, and we heard from hundreds of you because your current job search strategy isn't working. You're getting more rejections than anything else. Perhaps you've tried sending your resume to companies and you're not getting interview invites. And maybe it's now making you second guess your experience and maybe even second guess your skills. You might even be overwhelmed by the entire process, and you just you're not seeing the momentum that you need to move forward. Now, all these strategies that I've shared with you guys today, it's not a secret tool. It's not magic. These are all proven concepts that my clients, my students, my toolkit users have used to find work they love. And I know that if they can do the same thing, I know that you can do it too. So, quick question for you. How would you like the templates, the trainings, the resources, the instructions for every single part of your job search process? So I'm talking about job search trainings and trackers, resume and cover letter templates and trainings, LinkedIn profile and networking strategies and tactics, interview techniques and templates, all the strategies that others have used to do things like land job offers making 2 times their income, or land multiple job offers at one time, or land job offers at Fortune 500's top 10 companies, including Amazon, Facebook, Meta, which is now Facebook Meta, Disney, JP Morgan Chase, General Electric, all the major companies. Now, I want to invite you guys to join us inside of the Career Advancement Toolkit. So if you don't already have it, or if you've never heard of the toolkit before, it's an exclusive suite of resources, including video lessons, templates, guides, instructions, and examples to help you secure your next job offer. So this is where you get to finally apply an interview with confidence. Now, let me share a couple of results with you guys. So Josh just sent us a message and said, And actually, he landed a new job making over $50,000 per year. So he sent me a message just recently and said, hey, after being laid off, I found your toolkit and it was an absolute game changer. He says, I was getting interview requests like crazy and ended up landing a job for over $50K more per year. He says 100% best investment ever. Colton wrote in and said he not only landed one dream job, but 2 dream jobs. He says, I've landed 2 dream jobs with your help. This is what we want for you guys. Tracy turned her her part-time internship into a full-time permanent position. She says, Heather's resources helped me land an interview for a web developer internship. So definitely use her resume and cover letter templates. And my internship recently offered me a full-time position. I'm so elated. And she was even switching careers, okay? Here's what happened with Kevin. He received a job offer from every interview. So he says, finally got a job offer thanks to Heather and her help. In fact, every interview I had, I received an offer from. So let me share with you guys really quickly what's inside the toolkit. And by the way, we have made some massive changes and updates over the summer. We worked on this to make it even better. So inside of module 1, you're going to learn how to build your irresistible resume. Okay. So remember, your resume is just one piece of the puzzle. But in this module, you learn how to create a clear structure and how to compose results-driven achievement statements. Now, here's the cool thing. Inside of this module, you also have access to a master, which, by the way, you won't need any other template, just so you know. A master resume template and example. Plus, we've included bonus resume samples for special case scenarios, because I know a lot of you out there are in a different situation. Maybe you have little work experience. Maybe you're a recent graduate. Maybe you're switching careers, or maybe you even have employment gaps. There is a resume sample for each of those special case scenarios. Now, inside of module 2, you're going to learn how to create your compelling cover letter. Okay, so this is where you're going to learn how to turn your cover letter into a mini sales presentation. So you're going to create an engaging career story that demonstrates how you are the solution to the problem. Now, inside of this module, we also have a master, which, by the way, you're not going to need any other cover letter. We have a master cover letter template and example. Plus, we have bonus cover letter templates for special case scenarios. Again, career transition cover letter. We have a company growth cover letter, so someone that is advancing in their career and just moving on to that next step. And we even have a sales manager cover letter. So again, lots of resources inside of that module to help you create your compelling cover letter. Now, inside of module 3, you're going to develop your personal brand and networking strategy with LinkedIn. Okay, so this is where we teach you how to create an attention-grabbing LinkedIn headline and about summary. Then we teach you how to dive into the hidden job market with brand new networking templates. So we've added a host of networking templates, including our LinkedIn Essentials Starter Pack. Let me give you a quick glance at what's inside these templates. So we have a connection request template, which you guys all should be using every single day, even if you're just spending a couple minutes on LinkedIn. We have a follow-up message template in there for if you've made a connection request, well, what's next? Reaching out to a recruiter, which is we get this question every single day. Like, how do I reach out? And Catherine can attest to this. How do I reach out to a recruiter on LinkedIn? Okay, so we have a template, an exact template for you to follow. We have an exact template for you to request an introduction, okay, from someone. Asking for an endorsement, asking for recommendations, and then even a template for writing a recommendation for someone else, okay? So there's a whole host of templates inside of the toolkit just to tackle your networking strategy on LinkedIn. Now, inside of module 4, we dive into your interview with fantastic follow-ups, okay? So this is where you're going to learn how and when to follow up during the job interview process. You're going to dive deep into lessons, templates, and examples. So again, let me give you a quick preview of some of the templates that we have inside of the toolkit for your interview. So keep in mind, when you start that interview process, you're in a whole nother, like, there's so many different parts to it. Your first interview, your second interview, your third interview. We have lessons and templates for that. If you were rejected, we have a lesson and a template for that. If you're accepting a job offer, we've added those in and a lesson and template for that. a lesson and a template for declining a job offer, which, by the way, as we started going with the toolkit, we realized we have a lot of job seekers that they land multiple job offers. We need them to have something that they can grab really quickly to decline the job offer that they don't want to, but to still keep that relationship positive, right? So we have that in there. We even have templates for requesting informational interviews. So again, you guys, jam-packed with templates to make the whole process so much easier for you. Now we have a few VIP bonuses for you as well. So a brand new module that we added, Master Your Job Search, with our job search tracker. So this is where you're going to keep track of really important information such as position titles, who's your point of contact inside of the company, what skills are the most required for this position, do you have anyone on the inside of the company that you know that you're talking to, dates that you've followed up, essential notes or things that happen during the interview process that you need to keep track of, okay? That's all inside of the job search tracker. So again, that is a bonus module for you. We also learned that a lot of you guys want like a really effective 30-second pitch, okay? So inside of the toolkit, we've added Create Your Powerful Pitch. This is where you're going to learn how to make a strong first impression in 30 seconds or less during job interviews or while attending networking events. So that's a bonus. Another bonus that we've added, this is a limited time bonus. We don't know how long we're going to have this bonus available inside of the toolkit, but a job interview confidence training. So this is where you're going to learn certain things like how to manage your nerves and anxiety during an interview. What are the top commonly asked interview questions and how do you answer them, including behavioral-based questions. You'll also learn what questions you should ask during the interview, okay? And then we have an expert's printable guide where we have sample responses to the most popular questions and then areas that you can actually compose your own response. Now, when you go into an interview, we don't want it to be rehearsed, right? We want you to come off natural, but it's a very easy place for you to start forming your answers, okay? And then, as I mentioned in the beginning, a fast action bonus. The first 20 people to grab the toolkit will receive a 60-minute career coaching consultation. This is going to be an invite-only link. This is an invite-only link to our next World-Class Career Academy coaching session. The first 20 people to grab the toolkit will be invited to this. So you guys will get to learn and see what do we do during our academy calls. Ask us questions. You get to be live on screen with us. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't want. We pre-answer your questions as well if you want to pre-submit those. So the first 20 people, which I'm assuming or I'm guessing that this will be gone probably by the end of today. So the first 20 people to grab the toolkit will receive a 60-minute career coaching consultation. It will be an invite-only link to those first 20 people. So you guys are probably wondering, okay, what is the investment for this program? Now, the total value of all the templates, the trainings, the guides, and the resources in this toolkit is worth more than $2,396. And by the way, yes, we did break out the calendar to add this all up. But here's the cool thing. You can join us today for just $147. Now, we normally have this at $297, just generally out there on the internet, but you can join us today for just $147. Now, here's the thing. You don't want to miss out because this flash sale ends on Thursday, we're in September, not February. Thursday, September 15th at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you use this link, heatheraustin.online/live offer. Catherine will also pop the link into the chat for you guys. Let me see if I can grab the link really quick and pop it in, and you guys can, I'll pin it to the very top so you can use that. Make sure you grab that. The first 20 people, again, remember, will get access to a live group coaching call with Catherine and my team. So you guys are definitely going to want to jump in and grab that. So heatheraustin.online/live offer. I just pinned the link to the top of the chat if you guys are joining us live. Once you go through your final step, it will be to go to a secure checkout where you can use PayPal or credit card. And yes, we do take PayPal. There's a lot of people in my industry that they don't take PayPal, but we do. I have a husband who is an amazing systems engineer guy that connected PayPal, and it's amazing. So let me share a couple more success stories with you guys. I want you to meet Erin. So Erin found her dream job and increased her pay. She actually just recently sent me this a couple days ago. So she says, your resume, cover letter, and interview guidance successfully helped me to receive 2 job offers. Now, here's the crazy thing about Erin. She had actually been in one industry for 10 years, okay? She's like, I want to do something different. And she's like, okay, I got to invest in something to help me get out there and not make this a long, drawn out process. She only applied to 2 jobs, you guys, just 2. She didn't go out and apply to 50, 100. I had someone tell me the other day they applied for 800 positions. I'm like, no, please don't do that. She applied to 2 jobs, okay? She received job offers. She received her dream job offer and increased her pay. And here's the other thing she says. Most importantly, the work is in an area which I find rewarding. She says, I truly believe it was your method of guidance and teaching that led me to successfully receiving these job offers. Okay. So that's 100% success rate. Okay. 2 job offers, apply to 2 jobs, receive job offers from both. Again, that's why you need the template for declining the job offer, okay? Because that's our goal for you. Here's what Heather said. She says, I wanted to give you an update. She says, I landed a job. Your resume and cover letter advice helped me get interviews with almost every company I submitted to and an offer that was well above the salary range, okay? So again, that's what our goal is for you. Here's what happened with Nicholas. He wrote in and said, I refined my LinkedIn profile, rewrote my resume, practiced my interview questions. Oh, Nicholas also applied to had 800 resumes. He received, once he invested in the toolkit, used all the teachings, he received 2 job offers in the same week. The first week in February, he goes on to say, thanks to your program, I was able to tactically, which I like that word, approach my job search and find my dream job. So again, that's our goal for you guys. Here's Ellen. Ellen actually also just recently wrote in. She doubled her income after investing in the toolkit, okay? So she said, here, Ellen actually had been with the same employer for over 9 years, okay? She's like, okay, crap, I got to get my resume together. What do I do? What else? How do I land a job? She said, I had no resume or cover letter to tell my career story. I was totally struggling with how to share my skills in an authentic and qualitative fashion. She says, I used your free resume template to start and then later purchased the career toolkit to revamp my cover letter and LinkedIn profile in the spring of this year. She says, with your help, I was able to get the interview, present my career story in a digestible way, and I even negotiated a hiring on bonus. And then she says, my take-home income has increased. So again, you guys, that is our goal for you for if you're here today with us. Jason actually landed 7 to 8 interviews a week. So he wrote in and says, this content has been really amazing. I tweaked my resume and cover letter based on the content. The past 2 weeks have been nuts. I have 7 to 8 interviews a week. Let me also share with you guys Tanya. She's one of my favorite people in all the world. She's so amazing. From Canada. So Tanya actually applied to 9 positions, landed 6 interviews, and received 3 job offers. Okay. So she gives us a summary of what happened after she used the toolkit. She used LinkedIn and Indeed to apply to 9 positions, got 6 interview requests that all led to second interviews and received 3 job offers. Okay. Now, let me do a quick recap with you guys. We have 4 learning modules with high impact lessons and video tutorials for you. We have the Career Experts Template and Example Vault. Okay, again, that's going to be all your templates and examples to help you get your resume submitted, your cover letter, get your LinkedIn headline and summary squared away, network like crazy on LinkedIn. We have our VIP bonus number 1, which is master your job search with the job search tracker. We have VIP bonus number 2, which is create your powerful pitch. We have our limited time bonus for the job interview confidence training. We also have the fast action bonus for the first 20 people that invest in the toolkit will receive a 60-minute career coaching consultation with Catherine, myself, and my team. And then, of course, one of my favorites, do not forget about this, lifetime access to the curriculum and the templates, okay? So here's the thing, you guys. You can grab the toolkit today for just $147. Again, use the link in the chat or go to heatheraustin.online/live offer to grab it. One more success story from Terry, who is a power engineer. He says, your guidance helped me polish up my LinkedIn, rev up my resume, and helped me ace the interview to get a fabulous job offer for a position that I believe I will really enjoy. He says, and I'm a 57-year-old fossil who is 10 years out of the job search market. I couldn't have done it without you. So you guys, the toolkit is helping recent graduates. It's helping mid-level and senior level professionals. It's helping anyone who needs to land a new job, okay? We give you the exact tactics, the exact strategies, the exact steps that you need to take to receive multiple job offers so that you can send that decline letter, that you're not accepting that offer, right? And then you also get the template for accepting the offer. So again, we've streamlined everything for you guys to grab the toolkit. One last question before we jump into resume reviews. So far, I know that you guys typed in your biggest takeaway. What is your biggest takeaway so far from today's training? Type that into the chat. While you guys are typing that in, I am going to pull up our resumes. Awesome. The traveling cameraman says, I got the toolkit. Super excited. So excited for you. JC says, I've been in one industry for 25 years. It's a little daunting to switch now. JC, here's something to think about is you don't necessarily even need to switch industries. You could switch companies if you wanted. That's, that's two totally different things. But just something to think about. Yes, Larry, hello, says, just ordered it. So happy for you, Larry. Yay. Okay. Let me go ahead and I'm going to pull up my resumes that we have to review. So I've got a couple screens here. Hopefully you guys can see this very first. Is that resume number 1? Yeah. And by the way, I would love to know as well, if you guys, if you're still in the middle of typing or in the chat, if the resume reviews, if you've ever been to a resume review show before, and if it's been helpful for you, type yes into the chat. This is one of my favorite things to do is to look at resumes, which I know is weird, but it is. I'm going to get my glasses on so I can see. Yay. I'm going to also do a couple of shout outs, you guys, for individuals that we have coming into the toolkit. Marie Lee, welcome. I'm so happy to have you. Heidi's here. Let's see. Bernard, thank you. So glad to see you in the toolkit. Kimberly, Larry, I know that you mentioned that. Samar, yay. So fantastic. Robert, so many more of you guys. And I'll do some more shout outs a little bit later. Okay, let's jump into this very first resume. Okay, so we had a couple, and by the way, you guys, let me just give you kind of a quick preview too of how we do resume reviews. So I have Tori, which you guys have met Tori before if you've been to one of my live streams. She's my virtual assistant. So she's normally here with us and she'll answer questions and share links and all that good stuff. She manages my inbox. And she knows that when one of these resume review shows comes up, it's kind of like brace yourself because we literally receive hundreds of resumes to review during this show. Now, I would love to spend time doing reviewing as many as I can. It's time consuming, right? So we narrow down on some that we feel like, hey, this is something, and Catherine helps me with this. These are the resumes that we feel like will help the majority of the group or people that might be listening to the show or that might be here. So that's kind of how we pick these resumes. And then we try and pick different case scenarios like a recent grad, a senior level, so that whoever's here can benefit from that. Now, we don't always get that right, but we really do try our best. So, okay, let me look at, we have resume number 1. So this one, and I'll give you kind of a backstory. So this person wrote in and said that they've been struggling for years with how to combine 2 careers onto one resume, and how to bring their resume from a 3-page to a 2-page, and most importantly, how to engage a hiring manager. So first off, let me just mention really quickly with this resume. Super excited about, let me see if I move that. That's not going to affect you guys. Okay. I'm super excited that you have your title at the top. Okay. That's like the number one thing that I'm like, okay, they're listening. So we have a title, and then we also have 3 key skills. The formatting looks clear. I can tell that you have your summary, you have some professional highlights at the top. I can see your experience section. So again, if I'm an ATS, like I'm seeing all these really important details come to light, right? I can also see that you have volunteer activities and that you have your education is listed, okay? Which is great. I think that's awesome. The format's nice and clear and easy. Now let's talk a little bit about the changes that I'd make. I would first of all use a little bit more capitalization in here, like senior project associate should be capitalized. Research writing, communication strategies, that should be capitalized. I would capitalize your headlines, like work experience, that should be capitalized. Just bring a little bit more attention to it, okay? That's pretty much all I would do in terms of that. Now, the one thing that I want you to keep in mind here is the 3 key skills. Yes, we need to have those on the resume, but when it comes to the terms research and writing, those are really vague. Like that doesn't really tell me like, what does that mean when you're telling me research and writing? So I would say, let's get a little bit more detailed. So one of the recommendations that we had would be like policy research. Okay, maybe that's one, or manuscript writing or something. Just define what that is. Add a little bit more context to it because it's just a little bit vague. Now, the other thing that we noticed when we were looking at this resume is there's a lot of words that are like, they should be together, but they spill off into like another line, right? So be really careful of that. I really also want you to pay attention to your use of white space. So for example, this, by the way, for you guys that don't know this, and anyone that grabs the toolkit, you'll learn this really quickly inside the toolkit. This is a career highlights section, okay? So I talked to you a little bit about the summary in this masterclass today. I didn't go into detail about the career highlights. Career highlights is a section that's going to come under your summary, right? So that career highlights section is going to be like your greatest accomplishments, projects, things that like, let's say I'm a recruiter and I really only have a second or two, and I'm going to read maybe this really quick, and I'm going to quickly go read your job titles and maybe the first couple lines of each thing, right? That's where the career highlights section comes in because you can grab them really quick. This is where we have job seekers that will literally change this top section, and they didn't even like have a second to like change the other stuff, and they submit their resume and they end up getting like interviews and job offer requests on the spot, right? So that's how powerful this top half section is. Now, with that being said, you have to use a lot of thought when it comes to writing this. So in this case, you have the word, you say who together define leadership. You need like leadership on one line is not good. Like you need to either explain this more or try and shorten that so that it's filling up the top 2 lines, if that makes sense. Okay. Now let me just I want to just look at this really quick. And I wanted to point out a few things here. So you have fearless creative communications professional with experience in multiple sectors, helping organizations articulate and achieve their goals. Okay. I think that's good. I think I would be very prepared for in an interview, your interviewer to say, hey, you mentioned that you help organizations articulate and achieve their goals. Can you explain that? Like be able to explain what that means, okay? I like that you used the word trusted by individuals, C-level executives, and policymakers to solve problems. Again, solve problems is super generic. Like when you say solve problems, I would love to see you say solve problems such as, and then give us some detail about that, okay? I do like that you have expertise in. So again, that goes along with what I'm teaching you guys, where you're going to have some sort of expertise in. go a little bit more in detail, or just make sure this word coverage is not on one line. Okay, does that make sense? Awesome. Okay, let me see if there's any other. Oh, okay. The other thing that we thought about here, and we kind of like pre-do these so that we can go through them a little bit faster, is you have a position. Let's see, the Institute for Children. Okay. So what I would consider doing here is actually taking some of these bullet points, because some of them are very, very, very impressive, and pull them up to the top with your career highlight section. Okay. So this will help balance out that just a little bit. So I would bring some of these up, and then I would also, and when I say some of these, I'm meaning from the Institute for Children. The other thing I would think about here, and even if it's not a full-time position, you guys keep in mind that if you have a really noteworthy or impressive accomplishment in some way, and it might not have been from a full-time position or whatever, you can list it in the bullet points at the top in your highlight section. So I meet with a lot of job seekers, and I'll say, hey, like one of the first things I'll ask a client when I'm meeting with them is like, just to get to know them, I'm like, what are some of your most impressive accomplishments, or what are some of the things you're most proud of, and I don't even use those words. I'm like, what are some cool things you've done in your career? That's basically how I word it. And they'll tell me all this stuff because they're like, their guard is down and they're explaining themselves. And I'm like, is that on your resume? And they'll be like, no. And I'm like, and then I'll say, well, why isn't it? And sometimes they say, I don't know where to put it. And then I'll say, that needs to go right at the top in your career highlight section. Okay. So these are the cool things that you've done or that you're doing in your career. Okay, the other thing I wanted to point out, there's a few more things, and then we'll move on to the next resume. I want to point out is that I would love to see a little bit more data in here, okay? So when you talk about some of the things that you're doing, can you quantify some of these? Now, if you think back to the slides that I shared where you have your qualitative and you have your quantitative, I would love to see a little bit more of that inside of your work experience, just to draw my attention. The other thing I want to make a note of, and by the way, I'm spending a little bit more time on this because this is like my initial review, right? So a lot of the same stuff applies to the other resumes. I would love to just know, like, are these bullet points in order of importance? So let's say you're applying for a position and they might value one bullet point over another. I want to see you swap those up, okay? Because they might not care as much. Like, let's just say Google Workspace and Microsoft Office Suite. That's like something that we assume in the job market that everyone has that experience in some way. So to draw attention to it so far up on the resume, I want to see something that like sets you apart from others. And there's some awesome things in here that do, but I want to see something that is going to, that not everyone can put on their resume. Like Microsoft Office Suite, everyone could probably put that on their resume. Give me some more things. If you're this far at the top, listing that kind of stuff, give some more unique things right here. The other thing, you have page 2 of 2. I would not list that right at the top here. I mean, I would, but let me show you where to put it. I wouldn't put it down here in the depths of the resume. Let me show you guys one of the templates from the toolkit. I'm going to scroll down so you can see kind of how we list page 2 of a resume, which we don't actually put page 2, but what we do is we have the name and then we have a phone number. Or if you're not comfortable sharing your phone number, you can have your email address right here, okay? That's what I would do for resume number 1 at the top instead of saying page 2 of 2. The other thing I was a little bit interested in is you say work experience continued. I don't like that. I don't want to see work experience continued. I would like to see something else. Like it could even be like something specific to your industry, like industry related experience. So for example, you have work experience and then maybe you could get a little bit more specific with this word, but don't include continued. Okay. Volunteer activities. Okay, I think you guys can see that. Let me just make sure that's coming through on the screen because you can't see at the bottom. Oh, you know what? Let me adjust my screen really quick here. I think I might be able to, I can pull this up. There we go. Okay. See, hopefully you guys can see that. So at the bottom, we have volunteer experience and then education. I would take the year off your education. And then I love that you have all these amazing items that relate to your education. What I would do from here, let me go back to the master template. I want to see your education listed more like this. So notice this says Georgetown University, the city, the state, the degree type, right? I want to see yours listed like that without the year. Okay, you're not going to put the year in. And then all that amazing detail you can still keep in, but I just want to see it like the format just a little bit different, if that makes sense. I think that's okay on the volunteer experience. The only question I would have for you is do you have something that's a little bit more recent or something that, because I know that some of this is from 2010 to 2017. Is there anything more recent that you can go get or that you can start doing volunteer, that where you can say like whatever, like presently doing this, if that makes sense? And by the way, that's just to beef up the resume. The other thing too that I would love to see for this resume is a technical skills section. So this is one of my favorite sections, you guys, especially with a lot of people have gone remote. A lot of people or are going remote, or maybe they're not remote anymore and they're going back to the office, whatever it might be. I would love to see more of a technical skills section on this resume with some of like what other things can you add to this? Think about that, but I would love to see that on this resume. And I think that you have enough space if you, in fact, you will have enough space if you bring up the work. You're going to take out a couple things here, right? Like work experience continued. You're going to gain like 2 to 3 or 4 lines of space, if that makes sense. Okay, let's see where you guys are in the chat. Let me know if this is helpful for you. Type yes if it is. Catherine's answering questions. I'm going to actually answer a couple. Let's see. Okay, Funny Puppy. I love that screen name. Okay, so Funny Puppy says, should the resume length be limited to 2 pages? Any circumstances where it can be longer? Yes, okay. So there's a lot to consider when it comes to your resume page length. So my recommendation is if you have less than 5 years of work experience, I would say, hang on, I got to adjust this screen again one more time so I can get to the other resumes. If you have less than 5 years of work experience, keep to a 1 page. I actually even say like 7 and less. Like I know 7 is a random number, but keep to a 1 page. If you have more than that and you have a significant amount of like work experience and volunteer experience and other things you can add, you're okay going to a 2 page. Now, if you're looking at any longer than that, that would be like academics. Okay. So I work with a lot of academics folks because I spent so much time in academics. That's again where you're looking more in the US, we call it a CV, where now you're adding like your publications and papers and dissertations, and you're adding all sorts of stuff, right? That's where, I mean, I've seen some CVs that are like 20 to 25 pages, right? So again, you have to really think about what your circumstance is and where you are in your career, what experience you have, what are you going to add that's going to make you like portray you in the best light possible, right? And then go from there. Like most of what I teach, it's standard, but there are special case scenarios, and you have to know your case and go from there. Yes. Okay. And Catherine, I'm going to check really quick to see if there's any questions you want me to answer live. but you're doing so amazing answering all these questions. Normally I would be online for another hour answering questions. So I love that. We're getting a lot of them answered. Okay. Matt asked a question. Yes. Okay. So Matt says, if you've already purchased the toolkit in the past year, will these bonuses be included or added? Yes, 100%. So here's the thing. If you guys have the toolkit, just so you know, it's lifetime access, which is really freaking awesome if you ask me. You have access to all the changes that we just made. In fact, one night I unchecked all the old content and checked boxes for all the new content, and all the new content was live. So you guys have access to all of that. If you've already purchased it. Yes, and Deanna asked the same thing. So yeah, when you guys log in, you'll see all of it. Like it's a really nice little presentation. You'll have like all that good stuff. Oh, good. Okay, and then S. Lynn, I'm so happy to see so many Toolkit and Academy members here. And I think anyway. I was going to say, I'm not sure who S. Lynn is, but I think I do know. Says, I'm in the Academy. I assume I have access to all that is being offered today in the Toolkit. Yes, all of my Academy members have access to the Toolkit. And by the way, if you guys are not members of our World Class Career Academy, it's sort of like a deep dive into career content. We talked a lot today about it, but it's our group coaching version of the Toolkit, plus add like 50 or 60 more lessons on top, or maybe even more. I don't even know. Like where we go in detail, like this is line 1 of your resume. This is your headline in LinkedIn. This is your about, like it's so much more detailed, and you get access to group coaching calls. We will be sharing an offer for the Academy in probably a couple weeks here, maybe even a month. But if you're interested in it, send me an email at heather@professoraustin.com, and I'll give you all the information and the details, because we'd love to have you in there as well. Okay, let's jump into the next resume really quickly. Okay, this resume, let me get to the right screen, you guys. I switched screens up and here we go. Okay, so this is resume number 2. So let me kind of just go through the formatting and all that good stuff. Love the formatting, love the different colors. It's not too over the top. It's pretty streamlined. I like that. I like the dates. Everything's nice and easy to read, right? There's a couple of things I'm going to make suggestions to in just a second here. The other thing I like about this resume is there's a lot of, let me pull my screen up here so you guys can see it. There's a lot of different items here at the bottom that are pretty cool. Education, certifications, affiliations, supplemental information, okay? I look at supplemental information. Well, I know you've added computer skills in there, but you also have languages and extracurricular. So there's a lot to digest in this resume, which is good. That's a really good thing, because if I'm looking for someone with character and personality, I can start looking at some of these other areas at the bottom of the resume, right? But let's go ahead and focus. Let's focus on the top for a second here. Okay, one of the first things, let me scroll back up so we can see this, is at the beginning, when I first opened this resume, I like the detail. I like the career story. It's an amazing career story. Like, I'm hooked in a lot of different ways. I was a little bit overwhelmed with how much was presented at one time. So what I would highly recommend is, and by the way, it depends on the type of position that you're applying for as well. Like, this to me actually read more like an academic resume, like this first page, which is fine if I'm going into academics. But I would say I want you to really evaluate some of the content here, and I want you to say, what can I take out and maybe explain more in detail during the interview? And what can I keep in that really will catch their attention if they have, like, think of it this way. Let's say they have 3 to 6 seconds to read your resume, and literally that's what it is. I want you to be able to catch them right at the beginning with the most important information, so that they can just quickly see, okay, we're bringing this person in for the interview, and they don't even have to look at your resume again until they start interviewing you. Then they'll go back and look at it when they give you a job offer, right? So I would say just really look at the detail, and really only you would know that based on the position you're applying for and whatnot. But think about, what can I eliminate that is just causing, there's too much of it. And what can I, because it's going to bring to the forefront the most important details once you do that, if that makes sense. Okay, let me see. There's a couple other things. Yes. Okay. I do remember this one too, Catherine. This resume, I think, would really benefit from that career highlights section that I talked about. And let me just give you guys a quick look at this again. So I'm on the sample resume inside of the toolkit, or one of the sample resumes. Notice I have 3 different highlights. Okay. These are my greatest career accomplishments. Some of these on resume number 2, they're hidden. Like they're hidden down here, like added $42,000 in revenue and 400 to students by implementing new courses focused on meditation practices, nutrition, stress management, yada, yada, yada. That's amazing. Like I have to go all the way to the middle of your first page to read that. Like I would love to see that come up here at the top right under your summary. And I mean, you could even think about, what else could we eliminate from the summary, which I think the summary is probably great. It's a fantastic, you've done a fantastic job creating your career narrative and giving us that story. But I want to see, like, let's say I only have a few seconds to read the top half. Give me some more of those juicy details up top, if that makes sense. And then, of course, it's going to balance everything out a little bit more visually. And because, for example, your director position and the associate director position, there's a lot in there, which that is your most recent position. So you will be spending more attention or more time on that. But I just want to break it up just a little bit more, if that makes sense. First year enrichment instructor. The other thing I was going to mention here too, this was a 5-year position. I don't think that was a part-time job. So what I was wondering here, and again, this is why I love calls, because I get to ask you these questions, like a coaching session. Why is there only one bullet point under this section? Like, I would love to see this balanced out a little bit more, where we have some more on this page. I know you have the additional work experience. I actually am not opposed to how you've written this. I think this is fantastic. I will show you guys. Let me give you a quick overview on, let me see if you can see this on the screen. This is how we have it written on our master copy of the resume inside of the toolkit, where you list the company name, the title, the city, state, and then the dates you've worked. That's if you have a position that was 10 to 15 years old, okay, or even 12 years old. Normally when you're writing your resume, it's your most recent accomplishments or your most recent work experience, right? So again, we're not going to go into detail with something that we've done all these years ago, but we do want to create some sort of balance with the resume. Which is why I would maybe add just a couple more bullet points here. I know that was 2005. I guess it's hard to think that many years have gone by. Time goes so fast. So I don't know. And maybe not now that I'm looking at it a little bit more. If anything, oh geez, what I would probably even remove the bullet point. I just don't like to see one bullet point under something. So either remove it or add more, I guess is what I'll just keep it simple and say that. Education section looks awesome. Yeah, so this is a really good example, you guys, of just using different areas to your benefit. She's done really well adding data in, quantifiable results. Love it. The only thing is let's make sure we get some highlights on there. The other thing too, I'm going to add one last thing about this resume and then we'll move on to the next one. This was a lot to digest in the beginning. It says experienced business and customer relations management professional. I almost want like an exact title rather than like a general term. Like that general term would be great in the summary. I like customer success, experience manager, product marketing manager. That's perfect for your 3 key skills. but I almost got lost in that title because there was so much. So I would say, what can we do to really hone in on like one major position and then just 3 simple key skills that can be under it, where it's not, I don't have to spend more than like 2 seconds reading it. I can literally like glance, and move on, right? Because in this way, I had to like really read through all those words, if that makes sense. So let me know, you guys, if this is making sense to you in the chat. Just type, yes, it makes sense. This is useful. Just give me a yes in the chat. And then we'll move on to our next resume. Yes, awesome. Okay, it looks like Catherine's answering most of those questions. My water's almost gone. That means we're getting close to wrapping up. Let me just share this too really quickly with you guys before we jump into the next resume. Go to heatheraustin.online/live offer to grab the career advancement toolkit. We've added some amazing content in there for you guys. Video lessons. Let me give you guys a quick recap so that you can see what's in it. Again, we have 4 separate learning modules with high impact lessons and video tutorials, our career experts template and example vault. And by the way, we counted up the templates and the examples. Between the both of them, there's over like, I want to say 50 like templates and examples that you can use for your job search. So just so you know, with all the success stories you've heard today, we get those every single day about people using the toolkit. So if you get in, you start using it, you'll see the results. And by the way, for current toolkit users or people that want to get into the toolkit, if you're going through the toolkit and you're like, hey, oh my gosh, I really wish we had this, all you need to do is email me. And I'm a professor. I create content. Like, I go in and I learn what is the best way for you, what is market trends, what's going to work for you now, and I will create the content for you and pop it in there. Okay, videos, templates, whatever it might be, to make the whole process easier. So make sure you get in and grab it if you guys are interested in that. Let's go ahead and jump into our next resume. Here we go. Resume number 3. Okay, give me just 1 second. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to do a few more shout outs here. I can't pronounce names as well as I would like to. Mehreen joined us inside of the toolkit. So happy that you could join us. Eileen, I think is how you say it, joined us inside of the toolkit. Awesome. So happy that you guys are joining us in the toolkit. And by the way, the first 20 people will get a special invite-only link to our next World Class Career Academy coaching session where you can ask us questions directly. And my team and I were here to help you. Okay, let's jump into this resume. Okay, resume number 3. So this is a resume that I wanted to choose because it shows it's a really fantastic attempt at one of the templates that we provide, right? So I can tell right off the bat that this was someone that used one of the templates, okay, that we have. So I wanted to give the feedback on that just so that if you're submitting resumes or whatever, like, you know what to change and you know how to land an interview quickly and then hopefully a job offer. So on this resume template, the one thing that I want to keep in mind is I love the career summary, okay? And Catherine's felt the same, like, great career summary. The one thing that I want you to think about is when we're defining jobs, like, for example, this position says remote accountant/bookkeeper. We don't need to include that word. I'll see this a lot. I'll see remote, or someone will say part-time, or someone will say full-time. We don't need to include that. We're just including the job title, okay? And then you say accountant/bookkeeper. I think that's okay, but I would love to, is there a specific industry or a specific whatever that you might be working in, or is it just whatever, just general? And if it is, that's okay. Accountants and bookkeepers, because I know I have both, they're fairly different. My bookkeeper operates totally different than my accountant. Like, they do different tasks. They are similar, keep in mind, but they're both very different. So I would say get clear with do you want to do one or the other? And I would say focus on the one area that you want and just go all in on that, okay? Now, the other thing you have to be really careful of in this resume, there's a lot of spelling errors. So for example, the word financial, that's spelled wrong. So keep, like, as you're going through, I'm sure you're using Word and maybe you don't have spell check turned on, but at least go in and do spell check. One quick spell check on this, just to make sure that you're not misspelling more words, because there's a couple in here. The other thing I would like to see is a little bit more quantifiable and results with some more detail. So for example, you have providing daily cash management reports and analysis. Okay, so here's the other, think about this, like how many reports are you providing? And when you say daily cash, like is there a specific report name associated with that? And then when you say an analysis, what are you analyzing? Like talk about maybe you're analyzing the number of customers. Maybe you're analyzing daily revenue. Maybe you're analyzing monthly revenue. Maybe yearly revenue. Maybe you're analyzing profit and loss. Like if you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, you got to get all those terms in here so that if I'm going to hire you as either my accountant or bookkeeper, I know that you understand what you're doing because you're using all those terms that I need your help with. Okay. So again, go deeper, like dive deeper into more of those specific results. Okay. I like that you have on a monthly basis account reconciliation. And then you say demonstrated. I would say, would that be more like performed or conducted account reconciliation on a monthly basis? And then when you say reconciliation, like what does that mean? Like, are you, again, looking at profit and loss? Are you looking at revenue? Go a little bit deeper, okay? Watch your spacing to like core competencies. That's a little bit close to that, your last sentence there. I like some of these, like for example, general ledger, profitability, increase, inventory, historical records. Some of these are very specific. I think you could add more. If you look at the competency section on the master template, notice how many we're adding. And you could add, this is one thing we didn't talk about today, but you can add a combination of soft and hard skills, right? You don't just have to add like hard skills, but you could add leadership. You could add your organizational skills. You could add communication. So don't be afraid to add those. But what I would say when you are adding those skills, and this is for anyone that's here listening, get really specific. Like leadership is kind of general. Management is kind of general. Like what we talked about earlier, get really specific with some of those key terms. Okay, in terms of experience, what I would like to see. Okay, so here we go. You have AARP. I'm not sure what SEP program stands for, but here's something to consider, and this is for everyone here. You may or may not want to swap out your title and the company. So you may want to put like the title first and then the company name. I kind of like in this situation, because you are specifically going for bookkeeper or accounting roles, I would like to see potentially your title first in bold so that I can say, okay, this person does have accounting experience, or they were a tax specialist. I know H&R Block and AARP, those are larger companies, and that's when it does benefit you sometimes to put those in there. But I would say, and maybe I'd feel different about it if you convinced me right at the top here, right, with your bullet points and all, like it's a fantastic start. This looks awesome, but we again are trying to get you to catch their attention so you can get invited in for an interview, land that job offer, and these are some of the things that you can do. One more thing too before I move from the top: reliable, energetic, and resourceful. These are words from the template. Are those words that an accountant and a tax specialist need? If they are not, I would switch those out. So if we're thinking about an accountant and a tax specialist, it might be accurate. It might be dependable. Think of those words. That's what you're going to put at the very top there. And again, I'm going to say the same thing on your work experience. Make sure, give us as much data as you can. And because you're in a data related field, there should be lots of that. Okay. Lots of numbers and data in here. Okay. Watch the spacing tier too. So at the very top, we have this space. We want to get it closer to the top. So watch your white space. I like that you've added a technical skills section. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of the asterisk separating the technical skills. And then the other thing I would do for this resume is I would have accounting specific skills. Like anywhere you can put like the term accounting, and I would have those first, and then I would list technical skills. So I want to see like industry specific skills for you because you have so many. Let's get all those in, and then let's add technical skills after. Watch this. You have a little line. I don't think you guys can see that. Oh, maybe you can. Nope, you can't. I'm going to pull up my screen just a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. There is a little line right here that's like a typo. So what I would do, and then it looks like you have one here too. You need to print this out. If you don't have a printer, I don't know, print it out. Go find a printer to print it out. It's the best. Like our eyes read easier than like on paper than on screen. Print it out and go through it with a fine tooth comb and look for any of those little errors that you might have. But I think once you fix some of those things that I mentioned, I think you'll be well on your way to a new position as either an accountant or a bookkeeper. So awesome, you guys. Okay, I'm going to see if there's any other questions. Let me know if this was helpful for you. Type a yes into the chat. I know I ask you guys a lot of questions. We will be back in a few weeks or a month's time. We have a few projects we're working on to do a special LinkedIn masterclass, so keep your eyes open for that. And I'll be sharing more about the Academy during that masterclass. But any last minute questions, pop them in. Any other items that you guys want us to cover? I think we're good there. Let me just find the chat. The chat is missing from my screen. Oh, geez. I have a lot of different screens open. Let me get to that. There we go. Okay. Awesome, you guys. We covered a lot today. Remember, if you want to join us inside of the Career Advancement Toolkit, go to heatheraustin.online/live offer. We're welcoming in amazing professionals right now into the toolkit. The first 20 people to hop in will receive a special invite only link to our next World Class Career Academy coaching session, where you can ask me and my colleagues questions about your career, anything else that you're having problems with. Thank you, Catherine, so much for being in the chat and answering all these questions. So happy to see you guys here. Thank you to all those people who are joining us inside the Academy. We will be back online soon for another live session, so keep an eye on the channel for that. And thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we will be in touch.